welcome back to another episode of Inspiration Talks. Today I have Megan Gaul, an educator turned into health coach from Staten Island, New York, who has lost 100 pounds, but most importantly has been keeping up this weight off since 2018, beating the odds for weight regain. So before any delay, let's welcome Megan. Hi Megan, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you today?
I'm good too. Firstly, thank you so much for being part of Inspiration Talks. I really appreciate. So, Megan, today I would like to start our conversation with your background. What do you do? What's your profession?
So, I work as a health coach. So, I specialize in working with people who want to lose weight, but they don't want to do it in the way that the diet industry says. So, they don't want to do it in a way that harms their relationship with food, and they want to make their journey their own and kind of take charge in what that could look like for them. So, I'm a coach who meets with people weekly to help them understand what their body's doing in response to the meals that they eat and plan the small habit changes that help them lose weight over time. So I've been doing that since 2021, end of 2021. And I started offering my own services in the end of 2022. So I'm excited about that.
Okay, so how's your experience going on? Do you help people reduce their weight virtually or in person?
We meet virtually, and we have a 45-minute to an hour deep discussion each week where we uncover kind of how the habits that they decided to do, those their new habits that they decided to build, how that went over the past week, how they're moving towards their goals, and what were the barriers that came up for them, whether it's, I planned these dinners, but we didn't actually have time to make them. I planned to go walking, but my kids got sick and I had to work around that. All the kind of crazy problems that come up when people say that they want to do something, but they've never tested those new habits in a week that's crazy and overworked. So we use that session every week virtually to talk through those problems and find workarounds or solutions so that they can move forward and keep building those habits. Because really what I found in my journey is that keeping weight off and staying at a lower weight consistently, I've really found that it's all about just keeping the same daily actions that I have been doing all along. So knowing the meals that I'm going to enjoy, kind of planning ahead if there's a special event, having a grocery trip every week in the calendar so I don't run out of food that works for me. It's crazy how those small actions are really the reason that someone stays at a new lower weight. So in my coaching, we really focus on the actions that they can do and that they can build consistently to reach the lower weight and then stay there.
Okay, from here, a question arises how many people want to reduce weight in a week or two, like more than 10 kgs, which is impossible, to reduce in 2 weeks. So in such
Yeah.
cases, when such people come to you, what do you do? How do you calm them down? You won't be able to reduce weight within a day or within 2 weeks.
That's such a good question. In a short answer, I set the expectation up front. Like if you're expecting to lose that amount of weight right away, I'm not the person to work with, because what we really do is in my service, we start with the first few weeks where someone's just observing what they're doing. They're not making purposeful changes yet. They're learning about themselves almost like a scientist would take notes on, the rat in the maze. They're taking notes on what they're doing day to day, their food journal, whether they're drinking water, what's happening now. And so some people can start to lose some weight in that time, but most people are just maintaining where they are and learning what they're doing now so they can make a reasonable, realistic change. So quick answer, tell those people right up front, during the first few weeks, we're not going to be actively looking to make the scale drop. We're going to set a foundation so that the actions that you need to do to make the scale drop, sustainably over time. And it's interesting that you brought up this question because for me, when I, in my, in about 2018, I was overweight. I was 230 pounds. And I had started in that year to slowly lose weight over that time, but I didn't start with the express expectation that I will lose, 2 kilograms a week, which is crazy. I didn't start with that expectation. I started with, I really want to be eating in a way that feels like, reasonable to me, because I was eating in a way that was emotional. I was eating in a way that was overeating and due to stress. So my goal was not really the same as some of those people who might come to a coach and say, I want to lose 4 pounds in a week. My experience is a little different in that I wanted to first work on my relationship with food. But what I found was that through doing that, my weight stabilized to a much more reasonable, healthy place than where it was before.
Okay, so basically you reduced your weight via the food, like you controlled your portions of food.
Yeah, that's the main, mechanism of it. Because when I started back in 2018, when I was that overweight, I wanted to stop this. I saw this habit of me going to a fast food restaurant every single day, and ordering enough food for my whole lunch hour. So multiple meals, just ordering enough food to get me through that whole lunch hour. And I realized through help, through therapy, through counseling, that I was doing that because I was so uncomfortable with my day, my work stress. I didn't want to think about anything. And so that habit kind of filled a role for me of, escape from the day, a little calm in the day. So for me to start losing weight was understanding the totality of what I was eating in a day and making changes that I was okay with. And so what I did was I started keeping a food journal. I learned a lot about the calorie impact of, you know, what a fast food meal is. If I'm having 3 fast food meals in the middle of the day,
Yeah.
what in numbers that looks, how different in numbers that looks to having a meal that you bring from home. Even if the meal you brought from home isn't perfectly healthy, the numbers of the calorie and energy impact of that meal versus a normal meal was really eye-opening to me. I didn't quite see that impact until I compared it in numbers. So really what I did was kept a food journal 100%, which I still do to this day, and then use that information to ask myself, okay, if this is what I'm eating now, what am I willing to change? And one of the early things that I was willing to change was to start making lunches on a Sunday and then bringing the lunch into work instead of using that lunch hour to just numb out from the day through food. So that was a big initial change that overall kept, brought my calorie count down, and allowed me to lose a fair amount of weight from that initial change. But what I saw that do is slowly help me see that I could start making changes like that, and I could continue making changes like that. And it actually felt possible then to reach a healthy weight. Whereas before, it didn't seem like a goal that I should even go towards. It just seemed like, I don't think I'm capable of that. Why should I even try?
Okay. So basically you controlled your diet. So what do you think is better? Like reducing the weight via controlling the portions of food or by exercising?
So, what we've like a lot of us who have lost weight and maintained weight, in our journeys, we've found that like the purposeful exercise is awesome, but not specifically for weight loss. Like purposeful exercise is amazing for keeping you in a kind of a fit state, keeping your muscles strong, keeping your heart and your circulation strong, helps for aging, like you age better, you're kind of people who exercise throughout their lives don't have Alzheimer's as much, they don't have dementia as much. So it's amazing for overall health. But when it comes to the mechanism of losing weight, it's it's only a small amount of your overall calorie burn for the week. So, if someone does 5 days of intense exercise for an hour, they might be burning, 300 calories for each of those. But if that person was to kind of focus on making the whole day more active, so getting more steps in, that almost has a more obvious effect on your weight loss over time, because you're not just kind of you're not just limiting your calorie burn focus to like just a few hours a week. You're looking at the entire week and staying more active for the whole week. um all that is to say, like, purposeful exercise, you can only do so much and have so much impact on the calories that your body is burning through the day. But food, many of us in like cultures where we're very comfortable with, food availability is constant. Like there's always a full grocery store and many restaurants very close by. You're always going to events or parties where there's a multitude of food available. That environment makes the kind of the impact that you can have with changing your food much stronger than just trying to change your exercise. So if a lot of people find it really eye-opening when they start keeping a food journal and understanding the calories of the foods that they're eating, because they see that like a day going out to a restaurant can easily hit 3,000 or 4,000 calories, without even thinking about it, without thinking that they're overeating. They're able to do that. So like just finding small ways to lower those, the impact of those days, can have a really big impact on your weight loss over time. So all that is to say, I think it's easier to focus on the food because your small habit changes are going to have a bigger impact on your weight loss. Exercise, there's only so much you can do to have an impact on your overall energy burn.
And so I completely agree with what you have told. Like, food matters a lot. But in some cases, when people reduce their amount of food in their diet, sometimes it doesn't affect, like the weight remains the same. It neither decreases or increases. So what happens in that? Like, what do you think is the reason behind of not reducing the weight? We are controlling the portions of food.
So you mean if someone is like reducing their food over time, but they're not seeing their weight budge?
Yeah. In such cases, what do you think is the
Okay.
reason behind?
So I think like one possible reason that I see some people experience that is like not really knowing how to interpret the scale over time, and not always in kind of understanding or not always taking into account the other things that can affect your scale number besides fat loss. So sometimes what you see when you're eating less over the course of 2, 3, 4 weeks, but your weight is staying the same. For women, often that has to do with our water weight levels, which is influenced by our hormonal cycle, periods, or even perimenopause and menopause. So I think sometimes when people purposefully eat less for a few weeks and don't see their weight change, often that frustration of waiting out for the water weight to disappear, like that frustration kind of causes them to revert back to their ways of eating before they were changing, reducing their portions. So they don't always have enough time to see the fat loss that's happening behind the water weight. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
So that's only one kind of, that's the most common that I've seen. Like they're making change, but they let the frustration with how long it takes kind of cause them to back out of the process. And then they never get to see that change on the scale that will come eventually. You just kind of have to wait it out and wait till, the water weight cycle is through. So that's kind of one thing I see. I think for other folks, and I think this is really common for people who have yo-yo dieted. over the course of many years, there's a cycle that happens that each time that they lose weight and then regain, they lose weight and some muscle, but then when they regain, they're regaining all fat. It's not as simple as that. There's more scientific processes behind it, but that's kind of the stepping back, the big picture to it. So over time, their muscle mass has decreased, which means that their overall metabolism doesn't need as many calories to fuel their body, because muscle requires a lot of calories to fuel. So over time, they have seen that their body needs less and less and less in order to run. And so it's hard then to eat less than what their body needs in order to lose weight. So every time you do that yo-yo cycle, it requires you to go lower and lower to see that same kind of weight loss over time. So I think that's another piece of it too. Some folks have a low muscle mass, or who have dieted many times, find that they have to go much lower than they thought they did in order to see weight loss. So when that's the case, metabolism can change. You can kind of teach it to rev back up a little bit. So I haven't had any clients who have had that particular problem, but what I've seen some colleagues really work with their clients with is helping them eat at a slightly higher level to, help their body kind of get used to eating at a reasonable level of calories per week. And then once they're maintaining their weight there, then it's easier to then take a purposeful few weeks and lose a few pounds by going a little bit lower than that. So it's almost like eating more than you thought for a little bit so that you're retraining your metabolism to match that level. And then kind of at that point, going lower to lose a little weight through finding a calorie deficit.
Yeah, that's right. I completely agree with what you have mentioned. So what advice would you like to give to those who are watching you right now on the weight loss journey?
That's such a broad question, and I like it. So what I wish that I would have heard when I was 230 pounds, overeating, emotionally eating, what the advice that I wish that I had heard was, you don't have to do this through a huge change that totally, transforms who you are. You don't have to be a different person to start creating a change that you want to make. So for me, I knew I wanted to stop eating that way in response to my emotions. I wanted to stop dealing with stress that fun in the day, and to enjoy life. Like what else should I do? This is the main way that I kind of relieve my stress, and this is the main way that I get through the day. If you take that away, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, and that's a really scary place to be. And I know some people are also in that. So what I would say is, like, you don't have to change it all at once. You don't have to totally get rid of what you're doing right now. It feels kinder to take a small step that you feel 100% capable of doing. So some of those small steps would be trying to drink a little bit more water and seeing if you're capable of it, seeing if you're willing to make that change, or starting a food journal, or taking a walk around the block each day, or even like doing a 2-minute stretch each morning. Anything small, but is an action that you feel 100% capable of doing for 7 days in a row. Keep it small, and then prove to yourself that you made a change that you wanted to make, and you're capable of doing something else too if you want to. Yeah, that's what I would say. Don't feel like you have to change everything at once, because you definitely don't.
Exactly, you're right. No one can change everything all at once. It takes time. Everything takes time to change even. So it was great talking with you, Megan. I really enjoyed our today's conversation, and I really hope you also enjoyed being part of Inspiration Talks.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a great talk.